Welcome back, everyone, to Fragomen FC, Passport to North America 2026, Fragomen's podcast series outlining the intersection between immigration and the beautiful game. As we gear up for the excitement of the upcoming World Cup, let's turn our attention to the North, to the Great White North, to be specific. This is Canada's first time hosting the FIFA World Cup, with Toronto and Vancouver hosting 13 games between the two cities. It is Canada's third time participating in the competition, having done so in Mexico in 1986 and most recently in the last World Cup, when Qatar hosted the 2022 World Cup. Today, Sergio and I are joined by our esteemed colleague, the third amigo, Mr. Rick Lamanna, our co-host and partner in Fragomen's Toronto office.
Rick, great speaking with you. I hope it's not too cold up there.
No.
So, today we wanted to talk specifically about Canadian entry requirements, for those seeking entry to the World Cup, whether it's simply to watch some games, come on behalf of a particular team, if you're a sponsor, or even a volunteer, or also if you're working to support the tournament. So, if it's okay with you, let's kick off. Let's start with this one. The countries that are playing Canada, who are they and why is it important?
Thank you, Sergio. Thank you, Jake. As always, great to be with you. I think that's a good place to start. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the teams that are going to be here. We know it's Germany. We know it's Belgium, Australia, Switzerland, Qatar. We know it's New Zealand, Croatia, and a UEFA playoff team. We know it's Senegal, we know it's Egypt, we know it's Ivory Coast, and we know it's Ghana, and we know it's Panama. And so the question is, okay, well, why does any of this, why does that matter, right? Well, it matters because in Canada, depending on your nationality, you either require a visa to enter or you do not. So visa required, visa exempt. So that first group I mentioned, so the visa exempt countries, Germany, Belgium, Australia, Switzerland, Qatar, New Zealand, Croatia, and probably that UEFA playoff team, those fans of those countries, nationals of those countries, can essentially come to Canada without requiring a visa, meaning you don't require a consular application. Nationals of Senegal, Egypt, Ivory Coast, Ghana, they will require a visa. And nationals of Panama may require a visa, depending on whether they have held a Canadian visa in the past or if they currently hold a non-immigrant U.S. visa. So, there's a big difference because processing times matter. If you require a visa, so take, for example, Senegalese folks who want to come and watch their team play in Canada. Current processing time is 200 calendar days. Ivory Coast, 300 days. Egypt, 120 calendar days. So these things do matter. And I know we'll get to sort of potential expedited process, things like that a bit later on. But that's who's participating, and that's why it matters where you're coming from to watch certain games.
Rick, what about specific visas or permits that are required for athletes or team officials and their families to enter Canada for the World Cup?
So for athletes and those associated with the team, so coaches, managers, staff, no work permits required. For those folks, they can all enter as visitors. Those come in to watch games, same thing. But specific for the teams, no work authorization will be required to enter the country.
Okay, perfect, Rick. Thank you. So, specifically about fans, what do they need to know in particular?
So, yes, that's a good question. And this is the one I think that may apply most broadly to our audience. So fans can enter as visitors. Okay, that's pretty standard stuff. However, please keep in mind, and I know this is probably the case in both the U.S. and Mexico, just because you have tickets, it does not guarantee entry. So as I just mentioned about processing times, if you are, let's say, you're a national of Ghana and you're really excited, your team's here and they're going to be playing in the World Cup, they've qualified, well, you better get started on getting your visa, sorted pretty quickly. The tournament's coming up in a couple months. So you want to get that sorted. If you're a national of the Ivory Coast or even Senegal, you're up against it already. So you will require a visa to enter. Now, whether or not you require a visa is the most critical portion. For people who don't require a visa, um, whether you need an ETA, an electronic travel authorization, will depend on how you enter the country. So, for instance, if you're a German national, Belgian, Australian, Swiss, Qatari, and you're already in the U.S. and you say, you know what, I'm just going to drive up to Canada because Canada, the two cities hosting games here are Vancouver and Toronto, two border cities. You might say, I'm just going to rent a car. I'm going to drive up. I'd love to see the U.S. I'd love to see some of Canada by car. I want to drive up. Well, you don't need an ETA to cross the border that way. You need an ETA to get on a plane that directly flies into Canada. So that's another thing to keep in mind. And if you're an American, you don't need an ETA at all, whether you're flying up or driving up to the U.S.
Thanks, Rick. What about media and related broadcast personnel?
So this will be a big one too, right? Especially based on the countries that are taking part in the World Cup that are playing in Canada. They don't require work permits either. So this is typically work permit exempt. So visitor visa or ETA, depending on nationality. And again, same thing applies in terms of whether they fly in or they drive up. And I should also mention that whether you take a train, it's basically commercial carrier or airline, or a port of entry, like your personal vehicle. So just keep that in mind, whether or not you require an ETA.
Okay, good to know. And now, regarding specifically about FIFA, Rick, they usually have some volunteers working here on behalf of FIFA. Some of them are volunteers, but from the country, not working for FIFA. How about all these people that are coming to volunteer in the World Cup?
So that's a good question. Thanks, sir. This is the one area where there have been an exemption or exception made by Immigration Canada. If you've formally been invited by FIFA to to sort of to either work or perform certain functions related to the tournament, you do not, or even support the preparation of the tournament, you do not require work authorization. So if you have a formal letter from FIFA, and this is important, you're gonna want to include that formal letter, whether at upon arrival to Canada if you're visa exempt, or as part of your visa application if you already require a visa. You're going to want to include that formal letter from FIFA. You are work permit exempt. That is one exemption the IRCC has created for this tournament. If you do not have a formal letter and you are coming into work as part of the tournament, let's say prep or during the actual event, you may require work authorization. So it's really important that either you or your employer seek out, qualified immigration lawyer. You can contact Fragomen. You can contact, an existing immigration lawyer if you already have one, to determine whether you need work authorization as part of your trip to Canada during or before the tournament.
Rick, is there anything else that you think is really important for people to know as they prepare to travel to Canada for the tournament? And what would you want to reinforce for those who are listening or watching the podcast series?
Thanks, Jake. So that's an important one. I think I'd end with this. So the Canadian government really hasn't made, other than what I just mentioned, really any exceptions. If you need a visa to come to Canada, you should start immediately. You should start right away. So there's no special FIFA visa. There's no special. I have tickets. I want to go. It doesn't matter. You are going to be, the person will adjudicate your application as they would anyone else coming for any other reason. Okay. So FIFA ticket does not guarantee entry or approval. Okay. A work permit exemption is only applicable in certain situations. Document preparation for the filing of your application is absolutely critical. If you have anything in your background, any sort of criminal issue in your background, that could delay things. So you're going to want to get any necessary documentation there, your background check, any explanation as to what occurred and why and how it was adjudicated. Apply and prepare as early as you can, and contact us if necessary. This is a huge event, as you already mentioned. We've been talking about this for a couple of years, and so it would be a shame for anyone who wants to enjoy the beautiful game for the first time in Canada to not be able to do so because of an administrative issue. So that would be, I think, the takeaway I'd like to leave the audience with.
Thank you very much, Rick, of course. So there you go, guys. No special FIFA visa. Please do plan ahead, prepare all of your documentation in advance, and of course, let Rick and us know anything if it's needed. So let's lighten up a little bit, Rick. And as you know, this last bit of the podcast, it's usually done by you, but now, as being the guest, the special guest, it's obvious who you want to win in the tournament. Of course, we know by the color of your sweater, but with only a couple of months ago before it starts, who do you really think is going to win this cup? Or is it the same answer?
Well, I mean, listen, if Canada were even get close to a final, it would be mayhem in this country. And I'm trying to remain consistent, with respect to our previous episodes and what I may have said. Although I can say this, we are now very close to the tournament. We are very close. Qualifying is almost complete. I would say this. I think it will be a European country, and I think if I had to say so right now, I think that European country is probably Spain. I think they're in good form. They've won the most recent Euro. They're quality top to bottom, and they have a lot
They're
of depth.
young. They can play in the heat. They have
Exactly.
a lot of depth. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good team. I think it's a good prediction, Rick. I mean, the thing is too. It's I was thinking of how much immigration changes and how our predictions for who's going to win the World Cup have changed over time. You look at who's in form, who's injured, what might have happened. Is there any drama within the national team? So a couple months from now, we might be picking someone else. But Spain, I think, has been a reliable pick all the way through.
If we're lucky,
Yes.
who knows? Who knows if Spain even makes way up north, right? All the teams I've mentioned are the teams that we know about. But Toronto does host a round of 32 game. Vancouver hosts a round of 32 and a game in the stage after that in the round of 16. So we're all excited for it and can't wait. Can't wait to host.
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy we got to do the spotlight on one of the three co-hosts today. Everyone who's listening, please hashtag Fragomen FC. If you have questions specifically about Canadian entry, you want to go to the World Cup in Canada, you want to watch games, Rick is your guy. Please reach out to him, and we look forward to speaking with you all soon. Thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, amigos. Thank you, Rick. Thank you, Jake. Bye bye.
Bye, guys.